then we will have MetroCrest services here. They'll do a mobile food pantry. And so if you have any kind of electronics or any kind of old computers or anything that you're wanting to dispose of, it's a very exhaustive list. If you have anything that you need to dispose of, you can certainly bring it by the church. It's free of charge for you to drop those things off and those items. And then if you'd like to donate blood, this is a venue for you to be able to do that. So that is on March 28th here in our parking lot from 9 to noon. And we just want to make sure that you're available, or that you're aware of it, and that you feel invited to come to that. So we are glad that you're here and taking the time out of your evening. Without further ado, I'll give it over to Dart. Oh, real quickly, we have snacks and water in the lobby if you want to help yourself.
All right, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Jamie Adelman. I'm the Chief Financial Officer at DART. First, I would like to thank the church for hosting us here tonight. We greatly appreciate that. And we are going to start off our meeting with a safety briefing and housekeeping information given by Soira Teferi.
Thank you, Jamie. Tonight we are offering American Sign Language for those who need it. And Jessica, can you please step to the podium?
Hi, buenas tardes. Yo me llamo Jessica. Soy la intérprete de español. Si alguien necesita ayuda o tiene algunas preguntas, me deja saber. Gracias.
Thank you. We are located at 2807 Valleywood Parkway in Farmers Branch. I will be responsible for calling 911 in case of emergency. The AED is located near the restrooms out front and to your left. And then if the AED is needed, Carlos will go ahead and retrieve it. We have DART PD here, and they are CPR certified and will provide assistance if needed. And then Carlos will meet the ambulance if we need one. And there are some exits out front in the lobby, and then we have a couple on the sides of the buildings as well. Should we need to evacuate for any emergency, please go to the back room over here. You can go out either way. And that's for weather-related or anything else. If you have any special medical needs, please have that information in a location where emergency responders can find it. And restrooms are located out here towards the lobby and turn to the left. Without further ado, I'll give it back to Jamie.
Okay, thank you, Soira. Before we get started, I'd like to recognize any elected officials or board members that we have in attendance here with us tonight. Now we've got the Mayor of Farmers Branch, Mr. Terry Lynn. Thank you for joining us. Are there any other elected officials here that I may have missed? Apologies if I did. Okay, no. So thank you again, Mayor, for joining us here tonight. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to provide information on a range of potential service changes. Within the last several months, six DART service area cities passed resolutions to call for an election that would allow their residents to vote on whether to withdraw from DART or remain. There are 3 cities that still have withdrawal elections active that will take place on May 2nd. Those cities are University Park, Highland Park, and Addison. Should the elections result in a withdrawal from DART, service changes for all modes of transportation will be necessary and would occur as soon as the election results are canvassed. Should the election not result in the withdrawal from DART of any of those cities, there would be no changes to services. We've created several scenarios showing service changes for all modes of transportation based on each of the 3 service area cities planning to hold those elections. The service changes discussed tonight represent potential changes should any one or all of those cities elect to withdraw. When you entered the room, you were handed a comment card. If you didn't receive one, please raise your hand and a member of our staff can provide you with one of those. Does anyone need a comment card? Looking good? Okay, we've got extras if you need them. We do have approximately 90 minutes for this meeting. After the next presentation, we'll open it up for questions. And now I will turn it over to Ed Eugene, DART Service Planner.
Thank you, Jamie. My name is Ed Eugene. I'm a service planner with DART. I will cover the potential impacts to services if a city decides to withdraw from DART as a result of their election. Currently, as Jamie mentioned, there are 3 cities that have ordered withdrawal elections for May 2nd. Those cities are University Park, Highland Park, and Addison. So a little bit of a background. As you've heard, we will cover potential changes in 1 or more of the 3 cities that will be holding withdrawal elections in May. If a city leaves DART due to the withdrawal election, DART is required by law to end transportation services in that city on the day after the election is canvassed. This will require immediate service modifications to comply with the law. Additionally, DART is required to call and hold a formal public hearing in advance of discontinuation or major modification of services. This formal public hearing will be March 24, 2026 at the regular DART board meeting. This has been, that will be one of several meetings that we have had to cover and inform our riders about the potential service changes. And so this information tonight is to help you prepare for any changes or alternative plans you may need to make should DART services not be available in an area that you may need them. What I cannot share in this presentation is information on any alternative services that a city may provide. I will only speak about the potential service changes and impacts to DART services. So this is a map of our current service, which is covers our 13 member cities. I will present the potential changes from a system-wide point of view. 3 cities that currently have ballot initiatives, again, are Addison, Highland Park, and University Park. We can share what would potentially happen if the 3 cities were to withdraw from DART. So first, let's look at each mode of service for the entire system. So for our first service is rail. We'll have a rail service. For each city that withdraws from DART, the trains at the stations within the city will run through the city without stopping or opening its doors at the station. So that's if a city decides if their election is, if they withdraw from their election. The train, unfortunately, will not stop and open its doors for that particular city. For a bus, there are 3 potential ways that bus routes could be impacted. One is some routes, as you see here, will continue, but bus stops within a withdrawn city will be removed, and buses would go straight through the city without opening its doors to let passengers on or off. Some bus routes will be shortened to stop at a withdrawn city boundary, and then some bus routes could be discontinued altogether if the entire route operates within a city or a combination of cities that withdraw from DART. And this is a list of some of those potential bus routes that could be shortened because of the withdrawal elections. So this is a look at our GoLink. GoLink is our on-demand microtransit service operating in places with limited fixed route service. This could potentially be discontinued due to the withdrawal elections. So as you see here, the Farmers Branch GoLink zone would be slightly reduced if Addison were to withdraw, and then the Park Cities also, the Park City zones would also be reduced, as you can see there in the green. So paratransit. So paratransit is a federally mandated service that DART must provide to the residents that meet and maintain certain criteria. Currently, DART provides paratransit services within and between our 13 member cities. DART's coverage goes beyond the federally mandated requirement that service only needs to be provided within 3/4 mile of any fixed route. If a city withdraws, DART paratransit service for that city will end the day after the city's election is canvassed. This includes paratransit trips wholly within the city, paratransit trips to that city from another member city, and paratransit trips from that city to any location within the DART service area. And again, I'm only speaking about DART's paratransit services here. And so this is a review of some of the impacts that would directly affect Farmers Branch. So potential Silver Line station closure. The Addison station along the Silver Line would be could be potentially closed if Addison were to withdraw. As you can see here, for December 2025, the ridership the average weekday ridership was 214. For Saturday, it was 157, and for Sunday, it was 110. This is a potential bus service that would be impacted if Addison withdraws. This is a list of the routes. There are 11 Addison bus routes that would be impacted. The map to your left is all the routes that currently go into Addison Station. The map to your right is what the service would look like if Addison were to withdraw. So the area would be along the routes would serve along the Munford and Arapahoe area, the Prestonwood Boulevard area. So the little slight change there if Addison were to withdraw. Potential GoLink modifications. Keller Springs GoLink is currently linked to Addison Transit Center. That would be removed if Addison were to withdraw. That would be discontinued, and then the Farmers Branch GoLink zone would be reduced. That cuts off Vitruvian Park and the west side of Addison Town Center. That area would be removed from Farmers Branch GoLink zone. So we'll take a look at the next steps and timeline. So the Committee of the Whole and the Board approval of call for public hearing, that was from January to February 10th. From February 11th to our current time now in March, we have been holding pre-public hearing community meetings, with our final one being on March 24th, 2026. Our public hearing, again, as I just mentioned, it will be, our formal public hearing will be March 24th, 2026. The withdrawal election will be May 2nd, and then the day after the votes are canvassed or counted, depending on the outcome of that, that will be the cessation of operations, or the end of operations. So what does that mean for the longer term? I have shared with you the known potential impacts to DART transportation services following a city's withdrawal in the public hearing process for those full impacts. However, what is unknown is the full scope of the secondary financial and service implications to the full DART service area if any of those 3 cities withdraw from DART. DART will continue to keep riders and member city residents informed of those potential changes if and when those are necessary. They are necessary. And that concludes my presentation. I will hand it back over to Jamie for a Q&A.
All right, thank you, Ed. So we're going to open up for comments and/or questions at this point. We're going to have some people with handheld mics. So if you have a question or comment, please raise your hand and we will bring you a microphone. You can also hand your comment card to a representative and I can read your question aloud if you're not comfortable doing that. Each person will be allowed 3 minutes. If there are speakers who need an interpreter, let us know. We'll try to accommodate the request. And we would like everyone to have an opportunity to ask questions or provide comments. So please be courteous of your fellow attendees. So we'll go ahead and open it up. Is there anyone that would like to start us off? No questions, comments? Okay, got a couple takers.
Hello.
There it goes.
Will the fact that the ILA is going to be returning some monies back to cities result in any curtailments of services down the road?
DART for the FY26 and FY27 has the general mobility program via the ILA fully funded. So we are going to have to look at potential service impacts, capital impacts to the agency starting with fiscal year 28, which would start in October 1st of 2027. So there could be potential impacts into the future, yes.
I'm just trying to get this right. The brochure that we were handed as we came in, it's out of date. It was printed before, say, Farmers Branch decided not to hold a vote.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Yes. Oh, we've got one coming for you.
Question. In the process leading up to some of these city councils deciding, are we going to stay or are we going to go, or things like that, this gentleman in the Road and Bridge District that includes Farmers Branch offered enticements to the city. Like you get $1 million if you don't have an election, but otherwise you don't get that $1 million. Now, I have spoken with an attorney about whether or not that would be considered a bribe, but it would not fall under that, and there are many parts of that issue. But the fact of the matter is, I don't understand the promise of that money due to the fact that I have talked to people with the Road and Bridge District and state officials, and they said all of those promises are useless, because all expenditures have to be approved by the state legislature. So if you want money for some of these things, it's fine and it's good and well and good for different people to say you're going to get this or you're going to get that. But I was wondering why there was never any discussion or disclosure of the fact that all funds have to be voted on by those individuals, and then it has to go to the legislature for that money to be spent. So I was wondering why none of that was ever discussed, as far as I have been able to tell, in any of these dealings.
Sure. I'm not familiar with that situation. The only discussions I can speak to are the conversations that have been had between DART and the cities. And we have negotiated in good faith with the cities to come to terms of the GMP, that's a general mobility program, in order to give, at this point, the first year, 5% of sales tax back to the individual cities. And in order to be eligible for that program, the cities that had withdrawal elections had to rescind those elections and sign the ILA by April 30th.
I'm wondering, what are the cities that want out, what do they want to stay, to keep DART?
I don't want to speak for the cities that are currently holding withdrawal elections. DART has presented to our board various items that the cities have requested from DART. And some of them range from money, just a rebate of sales tax dollars. Some of them want additional service. Some are asking for additional security and safety presence on the system. That is a question best left to the individual cities themselves.
Okay, so DART is negotiating or trying to compromise, is that what's happening?
DART had a lot of conversations with the service area cities. There were actually conversations being proctored by the NTC, North Texas Commission, between DART and the service area cities to attempt to come to agreement to avoid withdrawal elections. That's also where the GMP ILA really was presented the first time and got a lot of traction with the service area cities, but some of the cities didn't find that acceptable and have decided to continue with their withdrawal elections.
Okay, thank you for answering those questions. Is there anything I could do? My city is not involved in that right at this point, but anything, I'm a paratransit rider. I'm a disabled veteran, and that's the only way I can travel is by, and thank the Lord every day for paratransit. It's going to affect business that I conduct in those suburbs that are thinking about not having DART anymore. It's going to affect me a lot, but I'll just keep praying and believing. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Is the meeting on Tuesday quite different than this meeting here? It seems like it's labeled the same thing as just a public hearing. Is the attendees or the agenda significantly different?
The agenda isn't significantly different. The meeting on Tuesday, March 24th is our official public hearing that we were mandated to have by the Federal Transit Administration. That will take place at DART's regularly scheduled board meeting. So any comments that are made will be made directly to DART's board of directors. It is also a live broadcast meeting, so people watching online can see it. It's recorded and then available into the future for people to view. So kind of same forum. You can come and ask questions, provide your testimony on how you feel about the service changes, but it would be directly to DART's board of directors.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm kind of disappointed. I thought you were going to tell us about what you're going to do in the future. Are you not aware the city council withdrew you from the election on this issue?
I'm sorry, ask that one more time.
I say, we're not going to have an election on this DART issue. You don't need to tell us about what would happen and threaten us if we got out of DART. We've already voted not to get out. You know, a little bit of history might be in order. I was on the council back in the early 80s when this issue was brought up and we put it before the voters. The perception then, which is a little different than it is today, we're all worried about downtown metropolitan areas decaying and not having any businesses. And cities what were happening that to were deteriorating. So the thought was, okay, we need to get people downtown where they can go to the department stores and work. And that was a big push to get us to allow people to vote on DART. And we voted on it under the perception that it was going to be a rail system primarily. Buses weren't even spoke to the issue back in that day, okay? And so we thought that if we could return downtown Dallas, well, shame on us as city council people. We didn't do our due diligence right and figure out what the process was, because the majority of the control of the DART was all done in the city of Dallas. Suburban cities had very little representation and very little input on what happened. And our premise to vote for it originally was that that train out here that goes downtown went by most of the high-paying jobs in Dallas. It went by the Southwest Medical Center, went by the Market Center, and went by the legal system in downtown Dallas. And the premise was, okay, maybe people will move out here, live in condos and things along the DART station, and it would prosper our city. Well, it took so long before the rails ever came along. Dallas woke up and tore down the old power station down there, put on American Airlines Arena, and all the high-rise condos are down there. They don't need our help. And the whole thing, you know, I've been mayor twice since that time, and dealing with DART was kind of like dealing with Iran. You couldn't get anything done. Suggestions we gave were never responded to. And you know, transit system today is a very complex thing, and I think you folks are going to have to think differently than you have in the past, because transit systems were built out of the East, and most transit cities back there were built before the car came along, and most of the high-density stuff was built along rail systems and transit systems. We're living out here where an area where cars are, and trains and things that's done, you can't overlay that over replacing cars. So it has to be done in a different fashion. And you're going to have to start thinking out of the box on how you address the needs of people here. And so that's what I thought maybe you were trying to get information on here today.
Thank you for your comment. The point of the public hearing tonight is to talk about the service changes that would happen if any of the cities withdraw. We do hold these meetings in all 13 of our cities. We also hold a virtual meeting and then a meeting with our board. That's the one on the 24th. So we have meetings in cities that have elections and don't have elections. It's DART standard practice to make sure that we reach all of our potential riders. And governance is being addressed. Several cities have already voted on a resolution to amend the governance and go to Austin as a united front in the next legislative session to change the governance structure, because it does require state legislative action in order to change our board structure. Any other comments or questions this evening? Okay, so if you do have a question that comes up, you still have another opportunity, or 2 more opportunities really, to participate in the public hearing process. There is a virtual meeting that's going to be held this Saturday, and then there is also the actual public hearing that will be next Tuesday at DART's board meeting. So with that, if there's no other questions or comments, we're going to go ahead and conclude. And I just want to thank everyone again for attending tonight. We appreciate your comments, feedback, and questions. And again, thank you to the church for hosting us here this evening. Thank you.